Entrepreneurs aren't born, they're brewed. You are now listening to the Entrepreneur Podcast with your host, Adam McChesney. Let's grow!
Welcome to the Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Adam McChesney, and I want to thank you for being here today. If you're listening, please be sure to subscribe to the show and leave us a 5-star review on Apple and Spotify. We would love for you to share this on social media by tagging me and our guests, and this way we can get this content out to more people. Today, I'm joined by someone I've gotten to know really well over the last 2 years. He's a family man, entrepreneur, coach, podcast host, and much more. I've had the opportunity to hang out with him, play some golf, and get to know him outside of just the business world. I'm lucky enough to call him a friend and someone that I get to do life with. I've learned a lot from this guy, learning from a distance, watching what he does each and every single day and how he runs his life. My guest today is Kenny Robinson. He is the owner of Roof Savers, a roofing company in Foley, Alabama. He's also a coach at Winrate Consulting, which we're both a member of their community as well, where we originally met. Kenny, welcome to the show.
Man, thank you, Adam. I'm happy to be here. Excited to get into it, man.
Yeah, man. I know you got a lot going on, so I appreciate your time. And one of the things that I would love to kind of have the audience get to know, I obviously know you, but tell us a little bit about your journey in entrepreneurship, life in general, and how you got to where you're at today.
Well, man, for anybody that's watching the video, I'm trying to be respectful of other people's space. So as it fills up, I may walk around a little bit. Anybody listening, it probably won't affect you too much, but for me, man, I spent a little over a decade in law enforcement. I was a police officer. I did some really cool stuff while I was there. I was able to handle canines and be on the SWAT team. I was a sniper. I did all this fun stuff, but I was very broke, very broke. You'll start to death if you try to stay in that profession for too long. So I had went through a divorce, and I met my current wife, Macey, about 8 years ago. And she was a little younger than me, never had children. So I knew that she was going to want those, and I was 100% correct in believing that. So when we decided to start having kids, she was a dispatcher at the sheriff's office, and I was working as a police officer. We both working shift work. So I started looking for a way that I can make a little more money. Tried several things, nothing ever panned out. And then one day, just helping a friend of mine put a metal roof on his house. So I had some roofing background and was just out there helping and got injured pretty bad. A piece of metal was dropped on my leg, and I was laid up with an infected leg for probably 3 weeks or so. And there's a lot more to the story, man. That accident kept me from going overseas and working a bomb dog at the U.S. Embassy in Iraq, while also Facebook, you being the marketer, you understand, started showing me roofing advertisements, and I saw a ad for a product that restores shingle roofs and decided to give it a shot. And 5 years later, here we are. So it's been a wild ride here, just trying to make a little extra money. And so Macey could stay home with the new babies, and it turned into so much more than we could have ever expected.
Wow, man. Yeah, no, I've heard the story a couple times, and I get chills just thinking about it because it's such a cool, it's a cool way of how things played out, where you were literally just looking for some way to supplement some income, and it turned into the thing that has catapulted you and your family and obviously the company. What was the biggest mindset shift when you had to go from basically obviously working for somebody else, kind of just getting by, to now you have this company that's growing and all those other things? What was the biggest mindset shift you had to have there throughout that process?
So I'll tell you the biggest one for me. There were a lot of mindset shifts that happened over a pretty short period of time. But the main thing for me, my last night as a full-time police officer was June 7th, 2020. The next day, I know that the next day is my dad's birthday. I lost him years ago. It's always a very important time of the year for me, but that's the reason why I remember that date. And I decided to go all in on myself and go full time. In September of that year, we had a hurricane hit, and we went from I was maybe at this moment, maybe going to do about $1 million that first year, and the first full year. And after this hurricane, we instantly became, a $4 million revenue company overnight. and I was a police officer. People believed in me. They trusted me. I was known in the community. So that helped us out quite a bit. But what it didn't help me is knowing how to run a business, how to forecast all the issues, the comp audits, the insurance audits, the guys coming to me now wanting $500 a day, or they go work for this guy from out of town because that's what he's offering. All these things that I wasn't expecting. And we navigated, and I was about to go out of business. And this is when I think the biggest mindset shift for me happened is I can't figure this out on my own. I'm not that I'm not good enough, but I have got to get some help and I've got to figure this out. So I went from just trying to make some extra money, and my mindset shifted to where if I can figure out how to navigate these waters and keep this ship afloat, I could potentially own a real business on the backside of this. You know, I had never viewed it as real. I had never viewed it as something that could last long term. It was just a way I was making some extra money. And it was in that moment that I said, if I can figure this out, if I go hire some help, if I start to understand margins and everything that comes with being an entrepreneur, there's a solid chance we're gonna do some big things here. And that was the first big mindset shift.
Yeah, I mean, that's huge. And I think you said something there where it was like, I know I'm smart. It was something along the lines, I'm paraphrasing it, but like, I know I can do this. I know I'm smart enough to do this, but I know I need outside help. And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong, is because they let their ego get in front of them, and they think by asking for help or seeking a coach or whatever that might be, that it is them admitting that they don't know what they're doing, and they negatively look at it in that light.
That's right. But every successful person that I know, every successful entrepreneur that I know, every successful husband, father, everybody that I know that does something in their life that they're happy about or proud of, ask for help. Yeah. And they're not afraid to admit that they don't know everything. I think once you get the ego out of the way and you're willing to admit, I don't know everything, life becomes so much easier, because now you're in a constant pursuit for evolution, for growth, for knowledge. Every day I wake up, I look forward to the opportunity to learn more, because I know the more information I put in, the more leverage I have in the marketplace.
Yeah.
And that's the way I view life every day. It's sort of like, I don't want to say like a video game, because it matters to me. Relationships matter, all that matters, but it really is sort of like playing a video game. I wake up every morning and I think, what are the moves I need to make today to stack the odds most in my favor?
Yeah. No, and I love that outlook on that. And I think at some point, if you're going to be successful and actually have a life that you're proud of, meaning that you're not just having the business run you, you're going to have to come to that conclusion, whether it's a year in, 5 years in, or 10 years in. That is the big differentiator, where you change that mindset. You ask for help knowing that you need it, but it's not a negative. It shouldn't be a negative reflection on who you are.
No, it's not a negative. And then also, when you begin to ask for help and you start to receive help, you start to understand how important that is. So then I realized, as people would come to me for help, obviously I started trying to help them in their business. And I found that I learn and grow way more through offering help and extending services to others than I do when I'm trying to gain it for myself, if that makes sense. So yeah. When you first have that mindset shift and you start asking for help, you also start to realize there's a completely different way of thinking about everything, a completely different way of navigating my day than what I was accustomed to. And you start to do, at least for me, I started to do things for what I felt were the right reason. And in doing those different daily activities, it's like, it's God for me, because I'm a man of faith, but call it the universe, whatever you will. It seems like the more you give, the more you put yourself out there, the more you just try to be a good person, try to help people, try to level up. It starts to come back tenfold. And I think it's just a byproduct of doing things the right way.
Yeah, no,
but it doesn't happen fast.
Yeah,
it doesn't. That's the hard part. That's what people, I think, go wrong, is it doesn't happen fast.
Yeah, no, I mean, if it happened fast, just with anything else, everybody would be doing it, and reaping the rewards quicker than most, right? One of the things I did want to ask you is, obviously you've been coached, now you're also coaching people. What is like something, I know you mentioned that you're learning from every situation and learning from coaching people as well, which I love, but like, what's one thing that you're learning, if you had to pinpoint one thing, like what's the thing you've learned the most by now coaching other people who have gone through similar journeys that you have?
I think we have a unique way of tricking ourselves into believing we know everything. Even when we just admitted that we don't and we're looking for help or seeking for help, you still tend to believe you're getting really good at something and you have it all figured out. And then in just a normal conversation, be it with a friend like you or a coaching client, they'll have something unique they're dealing with in their business. And instantly you start to think, I've never even thought about this for my business. Now I've gotten really good at solving problems and all of that and helping people solve problems. So we work through it together. But in the same time, I've just created new systems, processes, things of that nature for my own company. So coaching, really, you're learning. For me, at least, I'm learning just as much as I'm helping people. And everybody that I've had the pleasure of working with so far has been amazingly receptive and talked about what a great benefit it has been. So as far as the feedback I get, I feel like I'm doing a good job on that side of things. So I don't think it's a negative that I learned from them. I think that's just another beauty of the process.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think when things are going right and you're doing the right thing, it's going to be benefit for everybody. And it's going to be a back and forth. It's a partnership. It's all that stuff. So I love that. Just kind of going back to your entrepreneurial journey in general, I like to ask, what are the 3 things that have made you successful? Maybe something you've talked about already, but if you can pinpoint 3 things, what would those 3 things be?
The main 3 things I think for me has been the first point we talked about, letting go of my ego and being open to asking for help. I think was instrumental in doing anything that you want to achieve in life. The second, I believe, is being coachable, and that is when you get the feedback and you find the right person, you find someone that you can trust. So I want to clarify something real quick. A lot of people will go to say their uncle, who has worked for the town, for his whole life, and say, I'm going to start this business. And he's like, that'll never work. But he doesn't know because he doesn't have any experience. Yeah. And plus, God put that vision in your heart for a reason. There's a good chance that nobody's going to agree with what you want to go do. So take things as, I would say, more of opinion based and not factual was the second thing. I tried to make sure that the people that were giving the advice were qualified to give the advice. And the second thing is being coachable. Once you get advice or once you understand what's working for someone else, having the discipline to actually implement it, do what you're being told to do, or do what's being suggested, not necessarily being told. I don't like that sounds, but you know what I mean? And then the third one for me is being open to learning new things and the ability to pivot. For example, I was late getting on this podcast this morning. Would have never wanted that to happen in a million years. We had 2 guys that are sick with COVID, couldn't make it to a trade show. Me and my wife, being owners, had to step in. I said, I'm going to make this happen regardless. But I could have let that ruin my entire day. I could have told you I'm not coming, could have messed up your day. It could have been a negative chain reaction for everybody. But instead, we just showed up. We did the absolute best we could with the time we had. And I ran over here in the corner. For anybody watching, you can see the trade show in the background. But I ran over here in the corner just to make sure that I got this in and was still able to share my story and hopefully impact someone who's listening to your podcast. Which, by the way, I'm gonna toss this in there. I've been listening since the first episode, and it feels kind of surreal to be sitting here and see the stuff in the background and stuff. I'm glad you invited me on.
No, man, I appreciate you coming on and pivoting, and I think that's one thing that I've seen you do consistently well. Like I think one of the things that I always remember from our conversations is I've been the guy that's woke up at 4 a.m. and even sometimes 3:30 in the morning to try to be like everybody else. Now I'm waking up at about 5, and it's so much better because the only reason why I was doing the other crap was because I thought that in order to be successful, I had to do that. But I I was reluctant to pivot from that. I remember you telling me, you're like, man, this is what works for me. Like, I wake up later, I'll go work out when I want to work out. Like, you construct your day and you pivot based on what you're seeing and how you're reacting, not what everybody else is doing.
For sure. I try to figure out what works best for me from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed. And it's sort of a fluid process. It's never nailed down. I do pivot. I do change things quite frequently. But, I played around with, I like the cold plunge, for example, and I have a ton of energy and mental clarity after that. So now I try to adjust that to the part of my day where if I have important conversations or conversations for like coaching clients, or if I'm going to do interviews or lunch and learns or something like that, if I get opportunity to speak, I like to try to slide that in within a few hours before I do that type stuff. So what I do is every day I have pretty much 6 things that I know if I do and get done, the chances of me failing it today are pretty slim. And they're simple. Cold plunge, spend a little time in the sauna, work out. That's half of my whole day. Then it's a personal Facebook post, business Facebook post for each sort of little thing we have going on that can turn into a few. And then the last one is just do express gratitude. I just try to be grateful about everything all the time. And every time I catch myself getting upset about something, like this morning, trying to get here to get this stuff to the booth to get on your podcast, and traffic's backed up. They had a lane shut down, and I caught myself being like, mother. And then I catch myself in that moment. I'm like, this helps nothing. Calm yourself, collect yourself, so that when you do pull into the parking garage, you have a plan to get the stuff to the table as fast as possible, get on and start apologizing for being 5 minutes late. So just don't get trapped up in that emotion.
Yeah. No, I love that, man. And if you had one lesson to share with an entrepreneur that's just getting started that would help them save years worth of mistakes, what would that one lesson be?
I made a Facebook post this morning, and it was super simple. It just said, I believe the biggest thing holding you back in your life right now is I would say the best way to word it, the negative belief you have about your capabilities. If the faster you believe that you deserve the things you want in life, is the quicker you get up and take action to go get them. And the faster you believe in yourself. For me, that was the hardest one for me. It took me a couple years to feel like I deserved more, to feel like I was worthy of more, because I come from a childhood where we were very broke. And I did have, parents and grandparents who talked negatively about people with things, people with money. So there was a lot of that I had to overcome that I didn't realize was sort of built into my DNA until I started to achieve a few things, and I started feeling guilty for it. I started wanting to give a bunch of money away. I started wanting to donate. And I just felt like if I had it, I was doing something wrong. So my biggest advice is you deserve everything that you desire in life. You just have to go get it. So get out of your own way as quickly as possible.
That's powerful, because I think a lot of people struggle with that. They struggle with, their family traditions and genes and all that stuff. And I look at it, I had a pretty decent upbringing, but there's things that I want to remove from what I learned growing up and implement them differently as I become a father and I'm a husband and all these other things. I think people just think that they have to continue the way of the family, and you have every right in the ability to cut those things out and then create new traditions and create new things that are going to have a lasting impact on the legacy of your family. You can be, as Ed Milet talks about, like, you can be the one. You can be the one that changes the trajectory of everything for your legacy.
You can. And in being the one that changes that trajectory, you're also changing that trajectory potentially for generations to come. And not just in your family, but in every other person who comes into contact with you and watches how you live your life. You have so many more people watching you than you realize. And when you just live your life the right way, it inspires other people to sort of do the same, even if it's quietly. And then that can then translate generational from there. So, I mean, the impact you can have by living your life a certain way, and this is my opinion, I don't like to talk spiritual and I don't want to push beliefs on anybody, but there are a lot of people who don't believe that Jesus lived and died on the cross for me and you, and that's fine. I don't try to push beliefs on anybody, but in my opinion, if you don't believe that is real, then the man still impacted the world for forever by the way he lived his life. Mm-hmm. So that alone should be reason enough to try to do things the right way.
Yeah. No, I love it, man. Well, Kenny, as we're kind of wrapping up here today, I would love to hear about some exciting things you have coming on with the roofing company, some exciting things you have as a speaker, coach, all that stuff. What does the future look like for you and your companies?
Man, so the roofing company is doing great. It's growing exponentially. Like we're at the trade show today. Obviously, we've been on the forefront of bringing roof rejuvenation, roof max, that type of stuff to a new industry that's taken off. It's been going incredibly well for us. And then obviously we're getting more and more clients every day. I don't want to put too much on my plate. I don't want to get spread too thin. Mm-hmm. And then every day there are other opportunities. What I found now is that I've had a little bit of success, and to me it's still just the beginning. I still have so much to learn. I still have so much to figure out. But you start getting approached by other people with opportunities who have the drive and the desire, but they don't have any. Will you just take a little bit of this company? Mm-hmm. I'll give you a little equity and help me figure it out. And it's like, wow. I now see how things compound. You do the right thing long enough, you figure some stuff out, get out of your own way, move that you get some help, and then you start to figure it out. And then before long, people are coming to you for help. And you put yourself, like I said before, it gives you a little more leverage in the marketplace. You can charge a little more, you work a little more, and every day that you show up and continue to do those things, your sort of rates, your worth to the market increases little by little.
I love it, man. Yeah, your success is definitely just getting started. So I'm a huge fan. Looking forward to continue watching you. Where can people stay connected with you online?
So I host a podcast similar to this one. It's called Avoid the Confusion, and you can find me on anywhere you listen to podcasts. Kenny Robinson on Instagram, Facebook, and other than that, if you want to check out what we're doing on the roofing side of things, roofsaversllc.com. And it's being updated periodically, and just still trying to figure everything out, man.
Awesome,
excited,
man. No, I'm excited for you, and I know you're busy, man. I know you got a lot going on, so I want to thank you for coming on, man. It really means a lot, and I appreciate you supporting the show from the beginning.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. And I want to thank you again to the audience for tuning in to today's podcast. Please be sure to subscribe, download, and share our content. Leaving a 5-star review goes a long way. We'll see y'all next week. And remember, entrepreneurs aren't born, they are brewed.
I'm an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs aren't born, they're brewed. Thank you for listening to Entrepreneur Podcast with your host, Adam McChesney. Let's grow.